Master, fellow Toastmasters, and very welcome guests. How many of you know that 2009 has been designated the International Year of Astronomy? Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote, "If the stars should appear one night in 1,000, how would men believe and adore?" Although it's easy to take their beauty and mystery for granted, I, like many, have always had an interest in the stars and in our solar system. Last year, I found an ad for an astronomy course run by the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada, or RASC, and decided to finally check it out. Over the time that it ran, I learned all sorts of wonderful things, but tonight I want to focus on one particular thing. And it's a good thing that you're all sitting down, because there actually is no man on the moon. I know, it's hard to accept, and it sadly is true. Ladies and gentlemen, I did, however, find out a lot of other things, which hopefully can compensate for your disappointment. Things like what some of the stories around the world are relating to the moon, and why it is the way it is. First off, the moon is actually a star, which is the only natural satellite of Earth, and it circles us every 27.3 days. The moon is approximately 384,403 kilometers away from the Earth, and has about the same size surface as Canada, the USA, and Russia put together. The moon is the brightest object in the night sky, which could explain why there's so many mythological stories related to it. True story that some of you may have heard. During the power outage in North America in August 2004, police in New York were inundated with calls from people believing that the sudden spike in stars either meant that A, the galaxy was getting closer to us, or that B, aliens were taking over. And obviously neither was a very good scenario. In reality, it's just that there's so much light pollution in modern cities that people are only used to seeing the moon and a couple of brighter planets. But on to some of the fun stuff I promised you. What are some of the unique stories from around the world relating to this huge glowing sphere in the sky? Please keep in mind that there's countless songs, poems, stories, and references about the moon. I could never cover them all in one speech or even in one day, but I'd like to tell you about a few, including the popular European and North American tale about the shape of the man in the moon. So where did he come from? The Romans believed he was a sheep thief that had been banished to the moon for his crimes. Both Christianity and traditional West Coast Haida taught that he was a man or boy sent there for gathering sticks illegally. And they believed that his image looked something like this. So there you can kind of see the shape of a man holding some sticks. My drawing is not exactly stellar, sorry for the pun, I can understand. Alternately, some people believe that this is more what he looks like, with the two eyes, his nose, and then his open mouth. So you won't be able to see it tonight because it's raining. The popular Chinese story of Chang'e and the Jade Rabbit hit international airways with the help of the staff at Houston Capcom and the crew of the Apollo 11 just before the very first moon landing. Houston told the crew, "Among the headlines concerning Apollo this morning, there's one asking you to watch for a lovely girl with a big rabbit. An ancient legend says that a beautiful Chinese girl called Chang'e has been living there for 4,000 years. It seems she was banished to the moon because she stole the pill for immortality from her husband. You might also look for her companion, a large rabbit, who is easy to spot since he is only standing on his hind feet in the shade of a cinnamon tree." You might be hearing more about Chang'e in the next few years, as the same name has been given to the space shuttles that China is currently developing to reach the moon. In Japan and Korea, common belief is that on the moon, a rabbit making a pounded rice cake is there, and his image looks something like this. So you can see the two ears, the body, and then that he's pounding something with a hammer. So they're all three the same moon, but people interpret it different ways. There are other cultures around the world who have stories about a toad or a frog, a moose or a buffalo, or even a crab on the moon. Others believe that the name of Muhammad's son-in-law, Hazrat Ali, is written on the moon. So what are the markings on the moon then? If you've ever seen a picture of the far side of the moon, You can see it doesn't have as many of the dark patches that we do on the side which faces us. Most of you probably understand why, but just have never thought about it. So, to get our minds on the right track, I have two Canadian tourism questions for you. One, why does Sudbury have such rich deposits of nickel?
Because a meteorite hit the area.
Exactly, a meteorite that was rich in nickel crashed in Sudbury, leaving a crater and leaving behind vast quantities of the nickel. Okay, good. The second one, what causes the up to 10-meter high waves to come crashing down on the Bay of Fundy twice a day, every day?
The pull of the moon.
Yeah, the tides, exactly, yeah, the pull of the moon. The gravitational pull of the Earth the gravitational pull of the moon causes tides all around the Earth, and most of you have probably witnessed this somewhere. Now keep in mind that on the moon, the same thing is actually happening as it faces us, but not with water on the surface of the moon, but actually at one point there was hot magma inside of the moon. Now, if you can imagine being in outer space, watching asteroids and meteorites fly around, what is bound to happen eventually? Collisions, massive crashes, sent objects ricocheting off in other directions, left craters, and even broke some of the objects totally into pieces. This is what caused some of the geographical as well as geological features right here on Earth. And it's what caused the markings on the moon as well. Okay, sorry, this has to do with tides, and I actually have a diagram here for you. So, say this is the Earth, and this is the moon, as you can see. Now the Earth is spinning, which is causing the tides here on Earth. Now, the moon actually doesn't spin. It's actually always the same side of it is always facing us. So the hot magma is always on this side. It's hard to imagine, but on this side facing towards the Earth. So, because the hot liquid was on this side of the moon, when asteroids or meteors hit the moon here, leaving the craters, sometimes the hot magma which was inside actually came up through cracks and flowed and filled the craters that were there. As you can imagine, the magma wasn't as reflective as the surface of the moon actually is. So this is what causes the mysterious dark markings on the face of the moon. So I hope I've given you all a little bit of background on what I find a fascinating subject. But if anyone would like more information, please just ask me. If I don't know, I'll be able to point you in the right direction for sure. I don't actually know that much. But hopefully one direction you will be looking towards more often is up. I hope you've enjoyed our temporary trip to the wonders of the moon and back.